Some of us surviving, some of us just roaming, some of us just hoping the world will move on slowly. Some of us alive, but we're all gonna die one day. Yeah, some of us surviving, some of us just roaming, some of us just hoping the world will move on slowly. Some of us alive, we're all gonna die one day. 'Cause everybody I know is growing old too quickly, and I don't wanna go Sliding on my knees on your tables, engraving all your names on the maples. Try and be cool, but I'm scared when I'm playing your game. Skating in the clouds, falling into eyes. Do I whoops, this wolf is in disguise. Tick-tock waves, following the trace. And it goes like this. And it goes like this. You wind the thoughts that I'm feeding inside of the dust and you wind the thoughts that I'm feeding inside of the dust and I breathe in. Try and be cool, but I'm scared when I'm playing your game. Sliding on my knees on your tables, engraving all your names on the maples. Try and be cool, but I'm scared when I'm playing your game. Skating in the clouds, falling into eyes. Do I whoops, this wolf is in disguise. Tick-tock waves, following the trace. Skating in the clouds, falling into eyes. This skate might lead straight to paradise. Touching all the waves, following the trace. And it goes like this. You wind the thoughts that I'm feeding inside of the dust and
I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, Spider-Man's control, and Batman with his fist. And clearly I don't see myself upon that list. But she said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. I want something just like this. I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, the testaments they told, the moon and its eclipse, and Superman unrolls the suit before he lived. But I'm not the kind of person that it fits. She said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just something that you wanna go, how much you wanna risk. I'm looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss, just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this. Oh, I want something just like this.
Waking up knowing there's a reason. All my dreams come alive. Life is for living. With you, I made my decision. You lift me up, fill my eyes with wonder. Forever young in your love, this freedom's untainted. With you, no moment is wasted. This is living now. This is living now. You take me higher than I've been before. wish I found some better sounds no one's ever heard. I wish I had a better voice that sang some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told when I get older all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. We're stressed out. Sometimes a certain smell will take me back to when I was young.
Good morning, Catalyst. Please grab some more coffee and take your seat. We will begin in 5 minutes.
Maybe to my brother, 'cause we have the same nose, same clothes, homegrown, a stone's throw from a creek we used to roam. But it would remind us of when nothing really mattered. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we all would take the ladder. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. My name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. Yeah. We used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket ship and then we'd fly it far away. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to make money. Yeah. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out.
Used to play pretend, bunny. We used to play pretend, wake up, you need the money. Used to play pretend, bunny. We used to play pretend, wake up, you need the money. Used to play pretend, give each other different names. We would build a rocket
Good morning. We're going to get started. So, welcome everybody. So, welcome. My name is Ruben Imperial, and I am on the City Ministry Network Board of Directors, and we want to welcome you to Catalyst. Catalyst is, for those that may be new, is a monthly gathering of multi-sector leaders who are working to improve and strengthen our community and have an interest in connecting with other like-minded leaders for community, for support, for inspiration. So as you're here today, we hope that those things happen, you make new relationships, that you meet new people, that you learn about what's happening in our community beyond maybe your circle or your partnerships. And we hope that you are inspired as well to go out and to continue the work that you're doing and making a difference here in our community in the city of Modesto and Stanislaus County. So right there where you are, we open up as our gathering with prayer. So if you just bow your heads with me. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be here today. We thank you that you've allowed us to come together one more time to support, to learn from each other, and to continue to be inspired to engage in the work of improving our community. As we spend this next hour here today, we ask that you are with us, you guide us, and ultimately help us, Lord, to ultimately discern and to continue to work that you have us to do in our community. We thank you. Amen. So really quickly, this will be a good time to take out your phones. We ask that you would check in on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Hopefully this is the time you could be on your phone and no one will look at you cross-eyed. Check in at Catalyst. Let them know that you're here and that you are part of Catalyst. And Jody Hayes, our CEO, is speaking today, and you're learning about what's going on in our community. If you're a first-time guest, we hope that you signed in and you have a guest card. That card just gives us some basic information so that we can send you updates on upcoming Catalyst and other community events that CMN is part of, and it's a way to keep you informed. And if you are, you come here every month and you're a regular, if you could just sign in at the table, there should be a sign-in sheet just to let us know that you keep coming back to Catalyst. There is also a flyer, what we call a Catalyst little promo here. If you look at the front, it'll let you know what's coming up at the next Catalyst next month. And then in the back, there are a list of networks that Community Ministry Network supports and partners with, and these are different community efforts going on in our county. And we encourage you to look at that list and see if there's anything there that is of interest to you. And there are other flyers and information at your table that might be of interest as well. So before we move a little bit further into the program, we have Lynette Stein. We could ask her to make her way up to the platform. Lynette. So Lynette is the Director of Outreach and Engagement for Enterprise Restart. If you look in the back, they have a setup in the back there. And we wanted to come up just for a few minutes to share a little bit about Enterprise Restart and what they're doing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. I appreciate the opportunity. Some of you may not know that our program, it was birthed out of Catalyst and City Ministry Network. A few years back, we were part of the Jobs cohort and the Family cohort. Who remembers that? A few? Yes. And together with Dr. Jenny Boyer, who was called back into this community by Jeff Pishney in 2013 to serve alongside nonprofit leaders, she saw a very specific need going on here in the community for personal transformation on the parts of those who really needed a restart of their life. She started piloting this program at the Modesto Gospel Mission, and now today that just a few years later, we're providing classes all over the county. We're serving at the Safety Center, the jail. At the Day Reporting Center, we provided our course at the Welfare to Work program, and now we're coming up shortly with the Redwood Family Center. And this is all about helping people who are very broken and in need of a new opportunity for their lives, the chance to get back on track. It's a 6-month personal transformation course. And it's kind of the thing that's been missing with a lot of the programs that are going on. You know, you can teach someone how to read, but if they don't want to read, it doesn't help. So God has raised us up to serve these folks in a very strategic and to support them through their transformation. And it's just been an incredible process. Now we have moved into the Patterson area. Just the last month, they've asked us to operate Host House. Through our partnership there, we'll be serving their homeless in that area. And it's just incredible to see what God does when you're open to serve him in the way that he's leading you. And I just have a quick testimony to share from one of our students in the jail. And this is what he says. I'm 42 years old, and I thought that all I had coming to me was a jail cell. Today, I'm a new man. I've changed my thinking, actions. I have dreams and goals. I'm laser focused on my future, and I'm passionate about what I plan to do. Basically, Cambridge Academies, that's the name of our nonprofit, has given me the courage to live life, and for that I plan to give back by helping others do the same. So on October 19th, we're having our first fundraiser to help people like this gentleman and those at Redwood Family Center and those in the community who need additional support and help to learn how to live life a new way, in a way that's legit, we say, and to function in a way that they really want to. We see them all as image bearers of God, and they just need to know that. They need to know that and be encouraged to create those new action steps in their life so that they can be a functioning part of our society. So we really encourage you to join us for our event. For those of you who are going to Jose Zabala's event and praying for our community, add us to that list. But if you're not going to that, please consider meeting with one of us, our team in the back, who are selling tickets and table host opportunities to hear more and more directly from those who have benefited from our program and be a part of what God has us doing as part of this whole focus on prevention and this vision that we have for our community to really transform lives. When we transform one, we transform the city. So thank you, Ruben, for the opportunity.
Thank you. So one other real quick announcement, something that we're doing new this month is we are actually live streaming this event. Usually we video it and then we post it to YouTube later on in the evening. So if you want to just turn around and wave to the people that may be viewing here on Facebook and that are being live streamed in. It's not meant to replace you coming. It's meant to invite others to participate with us. So last month, if you were here, we had a speaker by the name of Dave Runyon who led a neighboring movement in the city of Denver many years ago and has since wrote a book about it. And if you were here, you did hear about the wonderful impact that the faith community was having in the community of Denver and the importance of taking that commandment, the great commandment, seriously. Love God and loving your neighbor. And he talked about that at our last session, and we heard about how, when we all know about, as we know our neighbors, as the relationships increase in our community, we have better mental health outcomes, better crime outcomes. It's just a fact. So what we want you to do for the next few moments, meet a new neighbor here at Catalyst. Find someone you don't know, or maybe you don't know very well, and talk to them about how things are going in your neighborhood and how your relationships are going in your neighborhood, all right? You're going to have about 5 minutes to do that. Find one person you don't know or you don't know very well, and have that conversation about your neighbors. All right, we have about 1 minute left. Start wrapping up your conversations in about 1 minute. Thank you.
Trading my dreams for no 401k. And I ain't giving
Dear Stanislaus, when people see you from across a crowded freeway, smoke swirling from factory chimneys, the rusty bones of old automobiles stacked in scrap yards, mounds of fertilizer and cows gnawing on their hay, it is not love at first sight, or even second. Get out while you can, they say, before the summer sun smothers you, before the fog of winter hangs itself like ghosts in the almond trees. But we are not afraid of you, Stanislaus. We see the beauty in your bare branches that sprout white blossoms in the spring and feed us by the fall. We hear your symphony of sounds echoing in the alleyways downtown, opera, mariachi, jazz, hip-hop. We dance under your blood orange moon, hipsters and homeless, farmers and suits. We eat carne asada at your taco trucks, drink Cabernet from your fields of wine, sleep in the foothills under the Sierra's diamond-studded sky. In the morning, you offer us cappuccinos, carve a smile into the thick foam, and call our names as if we have been friends our whole lives. You bake us bread, and we break it with neighbors in need, black and white, left or right. We know how to eat at the same table, even if we taste with different tongues. Your poetry is awakening, etching light into dark nights as we rise to watch your plays and ballets that bring tears to eyes that once only saw shame in you, Stanislaus, but now they see change in you. You are growing. You are pushing through like seeds beneath hard pan soil. You are shattering every stereotype heaped upon your back, but you worry that you are not strong enough to stand tall on your own. We hear you, Stanislaus, crying out for help in your plain-spoken English, in your Spanish, in the thick accent of your Assyrian mothers and Portuguese grandfathers, and we are listening. We are working in your schools, dusting the cobwebs off young minds, showing them that they can find hope in the pages of great books. We are sweeping your streets for parades on the 4th of July. We are weeding your trails, painting murals on your face to cover the wrinkles of time. We are cleaning your rivers, pruning mistletoe from magnolia trees, building bridges made of hope that arc toward a better tomorrow. You do not have to cry anymore, Stanislaus. Today, we choose to stay by your side because you are family. You taught us as children how to crawl with soil between our toes, and now it's time for us to teach others how to stand up for you in cowboy boots or Buster Browns in high heels or leather Oxfords or on bare, calloused feet. We will learn to walk taller along your great valley floor because we are all Stanislaus, and we are proud to call you home.
Jody Hayes is the CEO of Stanislaus County, responsible for the management of the county's $1.1 billion annual budget, 26 departments, and over 4,400 employees. Jody has worked for the county since 1999, holding various senior leadership positions, and since 2014, he's been the Assistant Executive Officer with overall responsibility for the county's budget and executive support for public safety and general government operations. He's a graduate of Downey High School and Modesto Junior College. Yay, anybody Modesto Junior College folks here? Downey High. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. And most importantly, he's married to Angela and is the father to Sydney, Spencer, and Aiden. Please welcome Jody Hayes, the CEO of Stanislaus County.
All right, good morning. How are we doing, everybody? Can you hear that okay? All right. Well, it is truly, truly an honor and a privilege to be with all of you this morning. I never thought I'd be on this stage, particularly at this location, and that'll make a little more sense later on as we kind of share my story with you. But it really, really is an honor and privilege. I want to thank Marvin Jacobo and the rest of the team with the City Ministry Network and Ruben for inviting me to come and meet with all of you this morning. I truly enjoy these types of opportunities. This is the best part of my gig, so I'll just be very honest with you about that. And I also just want to do a quick shout out to the Enterprise Restart and the work that Lynette and her team are doing out within our custodial facilities. That is truly magic happening in the community. It's behind closed doors, so a lot of people don't see a lot of those things. But when we talk about, lives transforming and where they're transforming and so forth, I've been in the facilities. I get to go behind closed doors and see some of that work myself. So I just want to give them a special thank you and encourage them to continue to do their good works. Okay, so I'm told I have 20 minutes to basically share my heart with you, okay? So that's a challenge, right? That's a real challenge. But we're going to do the best we can. So I'm going to kind of go quickly because I'm probably trying to cram in 45 minutes worth of my own little personal journey into about 20 minutes. So we're going to try to stay focused today. But in order for us to talk about our future, and that video is so inspiring. It really is. I love seeing it. Thank you very much. In order for us to really talk about that future, for me, to share what I'm about and what my thoughts on the future are, you really kind of have to know about the past, So I like to talk about our past, present, future, mix it all up, and see how it all fits together, at least for me. There's a number that I'm very focused on, and there it is. This thing's working. Good job, Andrew. So there's a number I'm very focused on, and when we get to our discussion about the future, I'll be referring to that number, 84,422. That is the number that drives me as the CEO for Stanislaus County, and that's one of the major reasons I took on this effort and wanted to do this. So that'll all make sense by the time we're done. Okay, so who am I? Well, like Ruben said, I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Stanislaus County, and I got to come in behind a wonderful Chief Executive Officer in Mr. Stan Risen, who's right over here. Okay, so you know how that term, you had big shoes to fill, is just often maybe overused? No, trust me, these are huge shoes to fill. All of us loved working with Stan, and we loved how he connected our organization to the community. He set the standard and the benchmark for how to lead in a government organization. He reminded us all frequently that government is not the solution to all of our problems, but we can definitely help. And there's a lot we can do when we come together to do that. So a lot of what you'll be hearing today is about my personal journey and the connection to our future and what I'm trying to do as an organization. And much of it was really carrying on the legacy from Mr. Stan Risen, who I am very proud to consider a friend. So good morning, Stan. Very nice to see you here this morning. Okay, so yes, I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Stanislaus County. I got promoted a couple months ago. Thank you, Stan, for retiring. I would have been fine if he stayed, trust me. So yeah, Ruben rang off all of those numbers. We have a $1.3 billion budget. We have 4,500 employees that work at the county, 26 different departments. On any average day, I'm out working with community leaders throughout the community, just trying to tackle some of the challenges and the bigger issues within our community. Ruben mentioned I have 18 years of management experience with the county specifically, and the last 10 years I've been working on the senior leadership team in Stanislaus County. So I will tell you that I felt very comfortable in the senior leader role, very comfortable. But that doesn't mean you ever feel comfortable sitting in a chief executive officer chair, because until you've sat there, it's really weird. You really don't know what that chair feels like. So on my very first day, I came in and I sat in Stan's chair. I'm just going to call it Stan's chair. And I had been in that office 100 times plus easily, meeting with Stan and other CEOs in the past. But it just felt really awkward. And I looked at Linda over here, and I just felt like, that I was at Bring Your Child to Work Day, and that Stan just left me. And that he just said, you could take it from here, you got it. And that's truly what that feeling was like. Well, I'm almost 60 days in now, and Dad hasn't come back yet, so we're just going to keep plugging away. But I want to tell you about being CEO. I honestly do not feel that my job here is to run the county. I don't believe that that's actually my job. I understand I'm responsible for it, and that there's a lot of things that happen, and when you're, in that role, the buck stops here, all that stuff. I get that. But we have wonderful leaders in our organization that do a really, really good job of running the county. They do not need me to tell them how to balance a budget. They do not need me to tell them how to direct their resources and so forth. I believe that my role as the Chief Executive Officer, and what you'll see me focus on during my tenure, is to think about our future, where are we going, and to prepare the organization of today for that future, and to make sure that we're all aligned in where we are going for that future. So that's where I spend most of my time. And that's why I really, really enjoy that challenge and that opportunity. I do want to take just a moment to introduce the rest of our senior leadership team, executive leadership team at the Chief Executive Office. Some of you may have worked with these folks. Keith Boggs, I refer to him as the artist. Keith is a very creative problem solver, never runs out of ideas, has the energy to fill any canvas in front of him. Sometimes Keith colors outside of the lines, but he gets great work done. So if you ever have an opportunity to work for Keith, you're very, very lucky. Patrice Dietrich down there on the bottom right, she's our wizard. We just call her the wizard. She's the financial brain trust of the organization. She's our rock. She connects resources to policy in a way that I've never seen any accountant do ever. And she's wonderful. And then over here on the bottom left, this is a picture from this last weekend. My wife Angela and I went out to AT&T Park to catch a Giants game. And Patty Hill Thomas was there as well. So for those of you who are familiar with Patricia Hill Thomas, our Chief Operations Officer, we call her the quilter. She brings us all together. She stitches together things that you wouldn't normally think to come together. Patty makes our dreams come true. That's what she does. If you can dream something, she can deliver it, right? So when you have talent in the organization like this, and there are many other folks that I couldn't fit on this slide, so what's your job as CEO? I sit in meetings with these brilliant folks, and what are you here to do? And that's why I tell you that I'm not there to tell Patty how to build a building or to create a vision for future infrastructure. I'm not there to tell Keith how to perform economic development, and I'm certainly not there to tell Patrice how to add up her numbers at all. I'm there to help us connect with where we're going in the future, and that really is my responsibility as your CEO. By the way, the Giants, man, they lost the game in the ninth inning. They gave it up, and I'm just sitting there going, can anybody just come out of the stands and pitch the ninth, please? So I think I got it for 2 seconds, and I missed the losing run. Anyways, so back to my story, the making of a CEO. For you to understand the making of that CEO, we're going to go ahead and revisit the past a little bit. Like to share some details of my own personal journey along the way. And I just want to tell you that I don't believe that my qualifications to be Chief Executive Officer are as much about what I've done in work as they've been more about my life experience. So I'm just going to pander to your own past and think back of the day, the 1960s. Stanislaus County's population was 157,000. Modesto was 36,000 people. Can you think back to that time? The 1960s, Modesto, 36,000 people in this town, right? There were 20,000 babies born in Stanislaus County that decade, right? That's an interesting number. 20,000 people get to say, yeah, I was born in that community during that decade. What kind of life did they grow up in? Some of the interesting things that occurred along the way, both Senators John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy both stopped in Modesto on their presidential bids, right? That's really amazing to think that at one point in time, in a community of that size, that we had that much attention. The World Series briefly came to Modesto. They didn't have a place to do batting practice, so they all came out here, the Giants and the Yankees. That's fascinating. And in April 1967, Brixmor Theater opened on McHenry Avenue. Anyone in this room remember Brixmor Theater opening on McHenry? Raise your hand if you do. Does anybody remember what movie was playing? The Sound of Music. You got it. Somebody give him a prize. So then we'll go on to the 1970s. Now we're at 194,000 population in Stanislaus County, 61,000 in Modesto, right? So we're starting to emerge. We're in our teenage years here in Modesto practically. 38,000 newborns in Stanislaus County at that time. We open our new library downtown, if you can imagine that. Ernest and Julio Gallo are on the cover of Time magazine. Oh, whoops. And that guy was in like kindergarten right there. That happens to be me. and my slides got a little bit out of order, but that's okay. So I'm gonna share with you a couple of these stats real quick, and then we'll flip through some photos real fast. American Graffiti's released in 1973. Sears and Penney's leave downtown Modesto to relocate to the newly opened Vintage Fair Mall in 1977. Does anybody remember going to the mall when it first opened? 1977, can you imagine now? 1977, great year, Star Wars came out, right? Star Wars came out, which was excellent. So there I am, right about the time Star Wars came out. Just a little bit before that, bicentennial year, right? This was me growing up, and I want to talk a little bit about what that experience was like for me. When I grew up, and we're going to talk more about statistics and what those things mean and so forth and so on, but I'll just jump right into it and tell you that in my own personal experience, I came out of a very struggling environment, to say the least. My parents did not have any kind of a sustaining relationship, very on again and off again, with elements of domestic violence. I have no memory of my father, no memory whatsoever. He had moved on basically by the time I was 1. This is my mom's best memory of some of those things, but to be honest with you, there's not always a real clear depiction of how some of those things occurred. So then that left my mom to raise 3 children on her own, which is obviously not easy. And you can see myself and my 2 older sisters right there. And that's basically what the 70s looked like for me. We moved a lot. We moved quite a bit. And a lot of that was just trying to get to a place that, would get us in a better situation at the moment. Born in Arkansas, came back out to Modesto. Our family was from the Midwest, and then we're those, with the classic Okies, we all came out, but we always kind of went back and forth. We did a lot of that. Lived in Modesto for a brief period of time, and then we wound up down in Southern California. I actually spent some time in Huntington Beach, where my uncle was stationed in the Marine Corps, so had offered to my mom, why don't you come down to Southern California, we'll try to get you working. My mom worked really hard, I'll just be honest with you and tell you that, to try to raise 3 kids. She was a housekeeper, she was a hotel maid, she was a bookkeeper, a cashier, an office assistant, a data entry clerk, and a daycare provider. Those were the things that my mom did to put food on the table. Our family was assisted by public assistance, off and on throughout all of those years. And no, not really for any long stretches, periods of time, but between all those jobs I just rang out, it was really tough. So I am the product of Head Start programs. I'm the product of food stamps, public assistance, Medi-Cal, Section 8, and also our community churches. My mom has a really interesting story that she tells about when particularly a difficult time she was having with my father at the time, and it was church members who stepped in and said, we recognize you have a baby at home and you're in a really bad situation here. We will move you to another location and get you set up. That wasn't the government, that was the neighborhood. Those were the churches that came to help my mom make that move. I benefited from that. A couple of things my mom would love to tell you if she were here today. Number 1, we were never evicted from anywhere we lived. She's very proud of that. We were never evicted. She paid her rent. Our bills were paid, probably not on time all the time, especially if you know her, but which is kind of where I get that habit. I'm sorry, my wife Angela down here. But yeah, the bills were paid. The rent was paid eventually. And she'll also tell you that quality childcare was essential to this entire mix, that she had to have daycare for me in order for her to go to work and do all of those tasks and so forth. And had she not had those daycare opportunities, because some of them were funded by the government and so forth, she doesn't know how we would have managed through those periods of time. So that's her personal plug. So there's the 70s. Let's move on to the 80s, I think. Here we go. This is why when you show up late and you don't rehearse, this is what happens, right? Okay, in the 80s, Stanislaus County, 265,000. Modesto, we're over 100,000 now, 106,000. And we have 57,000 new babies born into the community, right? So some of the other things that happened here, in 1983, George Lucas is now on the cover of Time magazine. So we have a theme going. In 1984 and 85, Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, that's not him. Whoops, we're out of time. They're playing for the Modesto A's as well. and Modesto Center Plaza opens in 1988. Was anybody there when Modesto Center Plaza opened? Who was the opening act for Modesto Center Plaza? Bob Hope. You got it, Bob Hope. And then shortly after that, we had our high school prom at Modesto Center Plaza, probably one of the first proms that was there. We lived in Modesto from 4th grade on, and I'll just share with you that I really struggled in school. I'm not a great student. I'm just going to be very upfront with you and tell you that. I struggled academically. I struggled socially. A lot of conflict and dysfunction around my household. My 2 older sisters really, really struggled to get through life, and especially in those teenage years. I had 0 expectations about high school graduation or what to do after high school graduation. There were no conversations in my household about going to college or, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? What are those goals and so forth? Goal setting wasn't really it. We were, you went to work and you tried to pay your bills. That's what it was really about for us. But there was a bright light in the middle of all this, and that was the picture that popped up here. That's my Uncle Russ. Uncle Russ. Uncle Russ went to school. He's the only one in our entire family. My mom was one of 8 that actually went to college, got his degree in mechanical engineering, went to work for a defense contractor out in the Silicon Valley, and wound up doing very, very well for himself. And while he was doing that and kind of coming up, he would take the time once a year, if we were lucky, twice a year, and he would drive back out to Modesto, and he would pick me up, and he'd pick up my cousins, and he would take us to go do fun stuff. That was it. It was just once a year. Just that once a year exposure of hanging out with Russ and doing something where it opened up my eyes that, there's kind of a different world, and people in our family, people like me, I don't have to live this way. I could live some other way. And how did he get there? How did he do that? So I'll just tell you, Russ never sat me down and said, hey kids, you need to go to college or anything like that. All he needed to do was drive that Porsche. That is a picture of my Uncle Russ's 911 Porsche. He used to drive us around in that Porsche. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I know it sounds, very shallow to say and so forth, but hanging around my Uncle Russ and going from, my mom's 1972 broken down Ford LTD that could barely get us to school to hanging out with my uncle, I just was always asking myself that question. How did he do this? Where did he come from? And he's part of us. He's part of our family. So he basically put belief in me. He made me believe that maybe there is something there for me. I do want to mention another bright light when I was growing up in the 80s was coming here to First Baptist Church. And Marvin Jacobo, I think, was the youth pastor back then. We reconnected on this the other day. And I will share with you, he had some really crazy youth programs back in the day. So when we have a moment, I will share those crazy youth programs with you because we're going to run out of time. Some of the other things I just want to mention along the way, I was a C student in high school. I got through Downey High School. My grades were okay, but, I wasn't setting the world on fire with my books or anything. All I cared about was playing in this rock band. So there's me with my mullet, okay? Can you imagine, right? The picture doesn't do it justice, but I think my hair was about a foot longer than that or so. It's pretty funny to look at now. But that's basically what my focus was in high school. I was going to be in a rock band. But I, at some point, knew that wasn't, going to pay out. So I took the first big step, and my very first big step was to take a college guidance class at Downey High School. And it was in our senior year. And if you went to this class after school for a period of 2 or 3 weeks, you could earn half a credit of college coursework. And then that got you advanced priority registration into Modesto Junior College. And so somebody came to the school and pitched this to the kids, and I said, I'm going to do that because that's just what I think I'm supposed to do. And I did it, and I passed that class. And when that happened, I told myself, I'm a college student right now. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me that I actually achieved. Just taking half of a unit of a guidance class was a really, really big deal for me. In 1989, I enrolled in Modesto Junior College, and my journey through junior college went on. I'm going to kind of breeze through the rest of this. Stanislaus County's population in the 90s is at 370,000. We have 161,000 in Modesto, 73,000 newborns, and I'm in school, basically. I'm doing the best job I can. Some of the other fast facts, Modesto's 4th high school opens, Johansson High School. 1999, 10th Street Place opens here in downtown, and the Brendan Theater also opened in 1999. But back to me. I get into Modesto Junior College, and I'm just pushing that boulder uphill. To be honest with you, I'm not a very good college student, but I keep taking the classes. I have to retake classes. I had to retake accounting. I had to retake intermediate algebra. I had to retake statistics. I am now responsible for a $1.3 billion budget. Don't let that worry you. I can do pretty good math now. Stan can testify for me, and we have great other people that are working there. But I worked my way all the way through school. I'm working almost full-time to pay for school along the way. We don't really have any financial assistance for school other than, what you can get through loans and so forth. On May 1992, I earned my Associate of Arts degree from Modesto Junior College with a 2.8 GPA. And this is one of the proudest moments of my life. So that's me with my mom, handing her my college diploma. And we have a college student or a college graduate in the family, and that's a really, really big deal. Neither of my sisters graduated from high school. Both of them were teenage parents. So to hand that diploma to my mom at that moment, I got to tell you, it was a big deal. And for those of you who think that going to Modesto Junior College is somehow not as impressive as going to any other school, you're absolutely wrong. Over 60% of the graduates from Modesto Junior College are first-time graduates, first family graduates, and so forth, and they've pushed amazing boulders up hills. So I'm going to kind of fast forward here. This is me graduating with my 4-year degree from Cal Poly, and Uncle Russ flies down to Southern California to hang out with me and celebrate my graduation. After college, I connect with one of my high school best friends, my wife Angela, right over here, and Angela has a 3-year-old daughter, Sydney. And we decide we're going to get married. So we do that. That's not a wedding photo, but it's pretty closely after the wedding. So we go ahead and do that, and we have that kid down there. His name's Spencer, and he is just a joy. He's a great kid, and those 2 kids right there, Spencer and Sydney, are the best kids ever. So easy to be parents with those 2 kids. We buy this house here in Modesto. We still live there 20 plus years later. We haven't moved because after moving 15, 16 times when you're a kid, once you get a house, we're fine to stay right where we're at. Then we have a long conversation about what we're going to do next, and are we going to have another child or what we're going to do. So we get into the 2000s. Stanislaus County's 446,000. And there it is. We add a 3rd kid. There he is, Aiden Joseph Hayes, right in the middle there. And he is a pain in the A, right up there. And I will tell you that the truth is that, and we had long conversations about having this 3rd child, the truth is that had he been born before the one on the left never would have come at all. It's the absolute truth. But basically, we spend the next decade working hard and raising these kids. That's my story about that decade. Then we get into 2010s. Stanislaus County's at 515,000. Modesto's at 202,000. And in August 2017, the County Board of Supervisors appoints me as the Chief Executive Officer for the county. I know that's really fast forwarding through a lot of stuff, but it's been a really, really amazing journey to go from where I was to what you're seeing on the screen today. And there they are. There's the Hayes family. So we took this picture just a few months ago when our youngest son, Aiden, on the left, he's turned out to be the sweetest kid in the world. It turns out when they're hard to begin with, they turn really sweet, and almost the opposite with the other 2 in a way. So my wife, Angela, who's here today, our daughter, Sydney, and our son, Spencer. Spencer's over at the University of Nevada, Reno. He's a computer science and engineering major. He's doing pretty well, but he has a really, really tough major. I'm very, very proud of him. My daughter has our hard work ethic. She works at one of the Starbucks on McHenry as a shift manager, does a fabulous job, and is doing great, great things. And Aiden, I'm so proud of this kid, just completed his first quarter at Bayer High School where my wife works. And he has some really hard pre-AP classes, and he just turned in a perfect 4.0 grade point average. So we're super, super happy with Aiden. So here's what this is all about, because I'm out of time. In 2020, Stanislaus County is projected to have 571,000 residents. 81,000 children are supposed to be born in the 2020s. What are we going to write about that decade? What will somebody be standing on this stage saying 20 years from now about that decade? And then here's where I'm really focused, the 2030s. 84,422 children will be born into Stanislaus County. That's the projection in the decade of 2030. That's the decade I retire. That's the decade my contribution ends to the community. I mean, it won't end, but that's when this role should end. And I have to tell you that everything I do and what we're trying to do as a county organization is focused on building a community that we can all be proud of for those 84,000 children to be born into. That's the number that I care the most about. I care about a lot of things, but at work, I care nothing more than that number right there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up because we're over time. I want to thank you guys all for spending the time with me and appreciate it because I think I did go over time, right, Ruben?
No, we're good. I left my microphone, so I'm going to try to project. Take 1 or 2 minutes to the person next to you. We all have an Uncle Russ in our life, beyond our mom and dad at times, that made a difference and took a little bit of time, and it made a big difference. Just turn for a few moments to the person next to you and talk to them about your Uncle Russ. And then second, what can you do to be an Uncle Russ to someone else? Thank you. Thank you, Jody.
Nashville, it's burning tonight. You turn me right round, baby, like a 45. I'm feeling every song that this town could write. Oh, the fire in my head and the drummer in my chest. Just take one look at my eyes and they will confess that you got me feeling so high. And you are the rhythm of my life. My life. I feel your heartbeat, beating right next to me. The heat, got me feeling like I believe all the things, baby, that we could be. I feel your heartbeat, beating right next to me. Beating right next.
All right, we have your attention really quick. We have your, really quick, we're going to be wrapping up. And I know how it is talking about Uncle Russ, believe me. You don't want to stop talking about Uncle Russ. And I'm sorry to interrupt you about talking about Uncle Russ, but about 5 minutes, you're going to be able to carry on that conversation. We asked Jody just to close with one more challenge, and then we're going to have Marvin come on up and close this out, and we'll be on our way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruben. So my challenge for you, I was asked to provide a challenge. Okay, so my challenge is to find and inspire the future leaders of Stanislaus County. If you walk through the social services building at the county, Find a child, inspire them in some way. Engage our youth, challenge their fears and insecurities. Spread belief and confidence. Find small accomplishments and make them big. Things to us that look small, they're actually really, really big to a lot of other people. So that's my challenge. Find our next CEO. You know, not like in the next 12 years, because I need to work for 12 more years, right? Go find the next CEO of Stanislaus County, someone like myself who may not look like the traditional mold, and help them believe that they can get there and find their replacement. So my lesson in statistics, for those of you around the Focus on Prevention program, you're very familiar with some of these statistics. 43% of U.S. children live without their father, and we're not just talking about divorced parents, but you know, these are fathers who fail their parental responsibilities. This is my own life experience. And I will tell you that my sisters, both of them, are on the opposite end of the statistics I'm going to tell you. They're the ones that fell more into the statistical pattern. I actually lost my oldest sister at age 39 to substance abuse. My wife isn't up here with me today, but I wish she could be, because she has a very, very similar story, a very similar background, so we're very closely linked together. She lost her sister to a drug overdose at age 21, her only sister. So that's kind of the framework that we come from, that these statistics are very meaningful to us because we've lived them. 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. 71% of pregnant teenagers lack a father. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 85% of youth in prisons grew up in a fatherless home. Fatherless children are twice as likely to drop out of high school, twice as likely to end up in jail, 4 times more likely to need help for emotional behavioral problems. But we also know that at least 1% of fatherless children become CEO of the county. If this clicker will show you that. And it's not. There it is, right there, right? So my biggest lessons in statistics is that the solution to every problem starts with belief. So please do whatever you can to go spread that belief into our community and keep doing the good things that you do. So thank you all very much.
I'm gonna, wherever Mark is. Mark, if you could make sure you send out the last slide to everybody that is on the e-blast for City Ministry Network. This way we have all of us together have this emerging young leader slide right in front of us and begin to align our efforts around some of that. And I was thinking of this morning too, and I heard your story, Jody. You and I are a lot alike of stories. And Airport neighborhood where I grew up, Franklin Elementary School. Anybody from West Side here? Anybody? All right. Okay, 2 of us. Good for you. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. Well, you know, I thought of this yesterday, wondering what Jody was going to say. And then for sure, the next thing I want to show you is, I want to read you a poem that has really marked my life. Yesterday, I had a character building day. Anybody have a character building days? Anybody? It's just a character building day. So if you know me, you know, man, hey, we're going to dream. We're going to be outstanding. The Lord, I know God continues to say to me, we've got some more mountains. Let's go do this thing. Let's face our county. Let's do this thing. And then you have a character building day where it's like, you know, I walked the dog by myself last night. And my wife knows when I walk Tyler by myself, she just needs to leave me alone. I'm in my cave. I'm in a character building day. And so I want to share with you, though, what I continue to be reminded about, because Jody reminded us today. And I want to encourage you, whether you have a character building day, you're in the middle of one, or you might be in a mess, or you just might be doing great today. But I want to share with you a poem that has really marked me, and it's a Steve Jobs poem, but it's let's see if we can get this, to the crazy ones. Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in square holes. The ones who see things differently, they're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. What's your boy's name, Aiden? Is that the one? You can praise them, disagree with them, quote them, disbelieve them, glorify them, or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They invent, they imagine, they heal, they explore, they create, they inspire. They push the human race forward. All right. Maybe they have to be crazy. How else can you stare at an empty canvas and see a work of art? Or sit in silence and hear a song that's never been written? Or gaze at a red planet and see a laboratory on wheels? Or hear the stories about our county and all the negative stuff and wonder, how can you make this place great? While some see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. And it's the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world who actually do. Think different. Here's to the crazy ones. You are the crazy ones. You are the true dreamers. Let's change the world. Let's continue to restore the place to the way we all know it should be. And like I tell you almost every month, you are a group of people, and those who aren't here this morning because they couldn't be here, you are a group of people who are these crazy ones, who propose maybe that their life could matter and make a difference in a small piece or in a big piece. And we can do it together, each one of us. And I want to encourage us together to continue to rally around Jody, his team, the vision of what it means to restore Stanislaus County to an incredible place that it should be, and honestly, it is. So whether you had a character building day, or you're in the middle of one, or things are going awesome for you, here's to the crazy ones. And I celebrate you, and we celebrate you this morning. Jody, here's to the crazy one. Not in a good way, Jody. I've already read the paper this morning. Not that like that, Jody. No, just teasing. Well, let me give you a couple things that were going on, and then I'm going to get you out of here. We're going to go real fast here. So do I have the clicker for the slides? For the announcements? All right, that's me. If you're a crazy woman and you want to be a part of Inspire with the women, to personally inspire each other, encourage each other, they meet the second Thursday of every month, right, Sandy? Do I get that right? Second Thursday of every month. And make sure, where's Sandy? Can she used to stand where I just saw her a little while ago. There she is right there. Come and see her. We are continuing to create spaces for different types of you, because we are not all look alike. Next month, we're going to share with you incredible communicator next month. I was going to share with you just again a look back on last year, as well as looking forward what we believe together we think we should all move together in. Some of it will be aligned with focus on prevention. Some of it will be with some of your dreams. But again, we want to remind you, for us, the wisdom is in the room. So it's not always up here. It's out here, and you are incredible people. Wisdom in the room. So bring somebody with you next month at Catalyst and continue to participate with us. We are a faith-based nonprofit. If the Holy Spirit of God, or your pocketbook says, man, I want to invest in this dream, just check us out online at cityministernetwork.org and participate with us in that way. But I want to thank you for being here. I think that's the last one. Is that the last one? That's the last one. Let me pray for us, and I'm going to let you go. Master, thank you for the time together. It's 2 minutes early, and I pray that people would get a chance to just mix and mingle. Thanks for all the MJC students that are here this morning. And Lord, many of us echo, I know I've surely given my life to the young. And may all of us understand and accept that we all have roles to play in each other's lives. Thank you for Jody, for the blessing he is to us, for this county. Thank you for the mentoring that he's received through the years with Stan and with some others. Thank you for him. And together, Lord, may each one of us be able to know, even as we're leaving this morning, that they can be crazy. They can think of possibilities and dream about possibilities, whether they're young, middle-aged, or old. May we pursue that next mountain and not be afraid or not be concerned about failure. But Lord, knowing that we're the crazy ones, because we'll make things happen. In Christ's name, amen. You have a good morning. There we go. She's better back in the back. Enterprise Restart. Jody's up here if you want to say something nice to him and thank him for being here and celebrate him.